Welcome to the Tea Podcast, bringing you the best in news, entertainment, celebrity gossip, social commentary, humor, and LGBTQ lifestyle. This podcast is part of the Urban Wire Media Network, where we shine the light on issues impacting the urban community. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher.
C's Treats LLC is a decadent sweet shop that creates exquisite desserts for any occasion. Whether it be for an anniversary, birthday, special event, etc., C's Treats has you covered. C's Treats LLC uses the most freshest items and the best chocolates, caramels, and products in the world. Every bite of C's Treats will leave you wanting more. She's located on the west side of Indianapolis, and you can connect with her on social media. She's on Facebook and she's on Instagram. Reach out to her via email at cstreets38@gmail.com, or you can contact her at 317-664-2609.
All right, guys, we're back with another episode of the Tea Podcast. I just wanted to apologize for the technical issues that we had earlier. So we're gonna start all over again, and we're just back. It's been a year since we've been on the air and stuff like that. So it's really good that we're back at a time like this where so much going on, not only with just the LGBT community, but just in society in general.
Yes.
So we're going to start this again.
Okay.
So, Ethan, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what do you expect from this podcast? Like, I know that you're new to the podcast, so can you just let us know a little bit about yourself and what do you expect from being on this platform, and how do you want to utilize this platform to get your voice out there?
Yeah, my name is Ethan Cripps. I am living in Bloomington, Indiana right now. I'm originally from Nevada, moved to Indianapolis when it was in 2012. So the podcast, I'm really excited to bring some of my opinions and kind of, learn about things that I may not know too much about, but kind of, get a little bit of information myself. But yeah, I feel like, what I've heard from the podcast in the past, that, covering a lot of important topics, in our community, and maybe bringing different ideas, and, helping people kind of think a little bit more about maybe something that they haven't thought about, or, things that, maybe changing opinions, changing minds. It's very important to me.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
And that's what we're all about here at the T. We want to not only entertain you, we're going to have a little fun and this and that, but we want to kind of be thought-provoking. And maybe, there was a point of view that you had before, or a misconception that you had before about the community. And we will just want to bring awareness and just kind of educate people in general. You know what I mean? So with this platform, I really want to reach out with more community organizations, bring them on the show.
Yes.
Try to give resources to those in the community that may need something that, we're able to give them that resource to obtain. So that's really what my mission here is with the T podcast. Of course, we're going to get our life, we're going to laugh, we're going to joke and do what we do. But that's what my main mission is, to educate the community and just give resources to those that, in education to those that may not know about the community, and just kind of just enlighten them. So I'm going to go to my partner right here, Jonathan. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you've been with the T podcast for the last couple of years, but just kind
Since the beginning?
Yes, since the beginning. So can you just reintroduce yourself and just kind of tell us, what do you expect and what do you hope to gain from the podcast?
So my name is Jonathan Crocket. I've been in Indy since 2013. And I've been with my partner, Senica Harris, for over 5 years now, which I can't believe it's actually been that long.
Yes.
As for the podcast, I'm just like you, Ethan. I really like to learn from my fellow gays. If there's a lot of things I just didn't know, this is the part where I can put in my 2 cents, or really gain a lot of knowledge just from you guys and other people.
Awesome. Just want to take care of a few housekeeping things really quick. For those of you that are listening from the link, or if you want to call in, you can call us at 516-595-8150. We would love to hear your comments or your input on the topics that we're going to be discussing tonight. If you would like to follow us on our Facebook group page, we would love to have you there. We have a lot of engagement. I think we're over 301 or 302 followers now. So I want to thank everybody that has joined that page. On there, you can get our clips, our excerpts, our show schedules. And then also, we're going to kind of engage. If you have any links or any story ideas that you would like to submit to us, we would definitely love your input. And also, if you would like to donate to us financially, because it takes a lot to do these podcasts, especially in the direction that we want to go. We would greatly appreciate it. You can donate to us via Cash App at $Urban Wire, and that's one word. So we would greatly appreciate that. Also, just to let you know, our podcast is available on most major platforms. We're on Stitcher, we're on TuneIn, we're on Spotify, iHeart, and Google Podcasts, and I think we're going to be expanding further in the future, because there's a couple more platforms that I want to get our show on. So that's definitely cool. If you can't catch us live, you can always listen to us on demand. Or you can go to blogtalkradio.com /Urban Wire Media, and you can download our episodes as well. So now that we got our housekeeping stuff out of the way, one more thing, we do have a YouTube channel too. So you can check us out at youtube.com /UCOFW. We're pushing close to 2,000 subscribers on there. So once we get to the 2,000 subscribers, I think we're going to probably have some type of, little, special podcast or celebration. So definitely join us on there. So we're going to jump right into this because we had like some technical difficulties earlier. So we're going to kind of rush through these topics really quick. The topics that we're going to be exploring tonight, we're going to talk about, we're going to, of course, do our entertainment segment. We're going to talk about Lil Nas X and how he was kind of dubbed again from, the BET Awards. He didn't get any nominations this year. And a lot of people are feeling that it had a lot to do with last year. I guess he had, he was introduced as a new artist last year, and I guess a lot of people, it was kind of in an uproar because he made out with another man on stage. It wasn't even made out. He just gave him a kiss on the stage, so it was kind of controversial. So a lot of people are thinking that the BET didn't want to deal with that controversy again, so he didn't get nominated this year. So even though he had a lot of successful hits throughout the year, so we're going to bring that up. We're going to discuss the Monique and DL Hughley situation. Todd Chrisley, which is a reality TV star, I guess him and his wife were just found guilty for tax evasion and fraud by a federal court. And also there's a little extra tea that's involved with that because I guess one of his business partners that he used to work with kind of had some inside information too, because there's always been some speculation about his sexual orientation. So a lot of people are saying, is this guy just only doing this because he's trying to get back at him? But we'll get into that here shortly. We're going to also talk about the dangers of gay men chasing what we call trade in the community. There was a story that took place in Virginia where there was a young athlete that was attending one of the colleges there that ended up messing around with another gay man, and I guess he was able to get out of committing murder because he used the defense that he tricked me and he didn't expose to me the fact that he was a female, even though his story wasn't lining up. And we're going to get into that because there was a lot of holes in his story, and it's unfortunate that we live in a society where people are still weaponizing our gayness against us, and they won't take accountability and live in their truth, so they're able to weaponize that against us. So we're going to get into that story. We're going to talk about the history of Pride, a brief history of Pride, and we're going to give you guys a little bit of a review of Indy Pride festival that took place here and that's continuing this weekend. I think they have a lot of different events. I think they have like a drag show with several notable drag queens in Indianapolis. So that's going on this weekend. And if we get time, we're gonna I might do a little sports news, for those, we're gonna try to be a little diverse over here, but that's just if we have time. We have a lot of other things. We're gonna do some reviews and just stuff like that, so just stay tuned. If you guys want to call in, once again, that number for those who want to call in and give their opinion, you can call us at 516-595-8150. We would love to hear your opinions. And if you're listening to us on Facebook Live, feel free to type in the comments. If you have anything that you want to add to the conversation, we will read your comments live on air. The first thing I want to talk about before we get into our entertainment, I want to talk about something serious, and I think it's something that we as a community have to take seriously with as far as politics. And I know a lot of us, we're not really politically savvy. We don't really pay attention to what's going on in the world of politics. But as many of you know, that Roe v. Wade is pretty much, I think it's going to be overturned. Yeah, so so the Supreme Court is more than likely is going to rule in that favor. And the question that I have, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it, is, do you guys feel that with Roe v. Wade being overturned, do you think that that could bleed over into the LGBT community as far as our rights are concerned? do you feel that is a precursor of a lot of the progress that we made being kind of like uprooted? So I'm gonna start with you, Ethan, and tell me, what do you feel about that, and what is, in your opinion, too, like, is it important for members of our community to become politically savvy and engage in the political process?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like there's always something in our country being targeted as far as like human rights go in some way. You know, with the Roe v. Wade, you know, with it potentially being overturned, I feel like it could pave the way just for our government to just stick its nose, you know, it doesn't really need where it doesn't really need to be. You know, it could overturn marriage rights. It could overturn, you know, any type of sense of security probably for our community down the road potentially. And you know, I feel like even though there are a lot of people who don't like to follow politics, it's probably very important to know at least basically what's happening in other areas of human rights, just because you know if it comes full circle, it's going to affect new generations of LGBTQ community in the future potentially. So yeah, I think it's very important for us to know some of that stuff.
And I will also add too, like, you know, a lot of people sit on the sidelines and they feel like, "Ooh, I'm glad that this is happening to this community over here. It won't happen to us." But we have to really get into the mindset that, you know, it may be this community over here today, but it could be very well the community that you're a part of tomorrow. So we can't sit by idly and just feel that that our rights are so secure that it can't be snatched from us. So, I mean, who would ever think that this landmark case or abortion rights or being pro-choice would be something that in 2022 that could potentially be reversed? Like, no one would actually think that something like this would be reversed. And I think the ramifications of that could be very astounding, because it could be like a domino effect. Like, it's Roe v. Wade now. It very well could be LGBT marriage equality rights, and just rights in general, because we still live in a country where it's not safe to be openly gay. Like, especially in work environments, like, we're not really 100%. We made progress, but we're not where we need to be. So, Jonathan, can you tell us, how do you feel about that? And, you know, I'm gonna pose to you the same question that I asked Ethan. Like, how do you feel about that?
I feel the same way, that our rights, that we've been, well, at least with abortion rights as that stands, you know, after 50 years, or nearly 50 years, that it has the potential of going away, and all these states that are ready to have all these laws in place as soon as the second it drops, that abortion will not be legal in these states, and it could even be a crime, because a few of them have made it to where, like in Missouri, for example, that if you go across state lines, say into Illinois from Missouri, that you could potentially face some kind of punishment. I don't know exactly what that is. I don't know exactly what their state is thinking about doing. But I read that. That was on CNN about a few months ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, this definitely pertains to us, because this is a court ruling. The 2012 marriage was a court ruling. It was not put into law by Congress, and it can be reversed by certain justices, by certain presidents who put those justices in the Supreme Court.
I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize too, is that just because something has been decided, it's not set in stone.
Exactly.
And that counts for everything.
Exactly.
For everything. Like, anything.
That's a really good point.
Anything could be reversed.
Yeah. So again, like I was mentioning before, that's why it's very important for us to be politically involved. You know, a lot of people, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, like I know a lot of people personally, like in the gay community, like they just don't feel like there's any importance of being politically savvy or being educated as far as politics is concerned. And you got to realize politics is like in everything that you do. Like you don't realize it, but you know your basic rights, you know, the stuff that you enjoy or the things that you enjoy today, like just the smallest things, it's politics behind all that. And we have to know the people that we're voting in. Like everybody makes a big hoopla about, you know, the national elections and stuff like that, but locally you need to know who is representing you, and you need to know who is who we're allowing to be in office, because a lot of times a lot of these seats are being just given away because people don't show up to the polls, you know. And you have to vote in your best interest. It's not about the next person. You have to vote in the best interest of you as an individual and your lifestyle. You know, you can't vote based on, oh well, my family voted this way or my family voted that way, or
like vote on what's going to affect you, not
and,
others.
Yeah. So, you know, and I know that it kind of sounds selfish, but at the end of the day, you have to look out for what's best for you in your community. That's right. Because every other group does that. So we as members of the LGBTQIA community, we have to be vocal. We have to be out here. We have to educate ourselves on who we're voting in, or in some cases who we're allowing in, because we're not going to the polls. So it's very important that we do that. And I kind of wanted to lead off with that, with this being Pride Month, because there's a lot of things that are brewing, and we need to be very aware about that. With that being said, I want to talk about the history of Pride, because a lot of people, like the younger generation, they think that, you know, things have always been rosy, and you know, people have always been able to live out loud and live in their truth without any social ramifications, but that has not always been the case. For those of you that don't know what Pride Month is about, I just want to give you a little bit of information about Pride Month. It pretty much celebrates and commemorates the Stonewall riots that took place in June of 1969. Hence, that's why we celebrate Pride in the month of June. And pretty much Pride Month commemorates the strides that LGBT people have made in the world. Not only just in the world of entertainment and fashion and stuff like that, but politically. There's a lot of people that have built major empires that were LGBT. You know, it's just like we have done a lot. Like, even if you want to even look in the world of religion, like, we don't even get into that. Like, a lot of people in the gay community, like, we build a lot of these institutions, whether it be we're in the forefront or in the back, you know, in the background. We are a very powerful group of people, and I think this month is a way to commemorate that. Especially, you have a lot of gay and trans people of color that don't get that recognition even in our culture.
That's true.
Because there was a trans woman by the name of Marsha P. Johnson that spearheaded the Stonewall riots, which kind of led into what we know now as the, you know, modern day gay rights movement. So I really want to go to a clip really quick just to kind of put things in context about gay pride. So those of you that don't know about it and just think it's just another event to where we can just come out and party, I just want to kind of give you some historical context of pride, so you can kind of be more aware of and kind of more understanding about the community in general and just the history of what we've had to go through. So we're going to go to this clip, and I'm going to come back and we'll discuss this topic, and then we'll just move on to our next one.
In the early morning hours of June 28, 1969, a riot broke out in front of the Stonewall Inn in New York City. The violent protest became known as the Stonewall Riots. The Stonewall Riots were a watershed moment in the gay rights movement, sparking activism and awareness across the United States. We'll look at the roots of the riots, the events, and their lasting impact. In the 1950s and 60s, homosexuality was still considered sodomy and illegal in 49 states. The punishment varied greatly by state, ranging from heavy fines to imprisonment. In society, members of the gay community were often subject to violence, harassment, and discrimination. In New York City, gay bars were havens for people with diverse sexual orientations and gender identities, places where they could avoid harassment and violence. The Stonewall Inn served as a popular refuge. The Stonewall Inn was owned by the Mafia. The Mafia bribed the police to look the other way. In turn, the Mafia made money overcharging patrons for drinks. Even so, the patrons were not fully safe from homophobia and discrimination. The Mafia would extort wealthy patrons, threatening to out them to their employers and families. Despite the Mafia's bribes, the police still regularly raided the Stonewall Inn and other gay bars, charging them with solicitation of homosexual relations. Trans and other gender non-conforming people were also targeted, subjected to violence, and arrested if they weren't wearing what the police deemed gender-appropriate clothing. This oppression and mistreatment came to a head in the early morning hours of June 28, 1969. 9 police officers entered the Stonewall Inn in a raid. The patrons were fed up. As the police roughly tried to arrest bartenders and customers, many resisted. Outside the bar, people in the hundreds began rioting. They threw bottles at them and pushed through the barricades. The police officers retreated from the crowd and locked themselves inside the Stonewall Inn. Rioters responded by setting the bar on fire. Police reinforcement arrived, and the original officers managed to get out of the burning bar. Meanwhile, the angry mob had grown into thousands. Eventually, the police were able to get the crowd to disperse, but it didn't last long. The riots continued until July 1st. While some criticized the violent and destructive riots, others pointed to the brutality and unjust treatment of the gay community. This large-scale defiance made a massive impact on society. The Stonewall Riots were the beginning of modern generation, which also brought attention to others marginalized for their sexual or gender orientation. The riots sparked the formation of the Gay Liberation Front, the first group to publicly advocate for equal gay rights. On the 1-year anniversary of the riots, they also organized the first Gay Pride parade. Today, Pride events are still held on the anniversary of the Stonewall Riots in cities around the country and even the world. In 2016, President Obama made the Stonewall Inn and the area outside where the riots broke out a national monument. This became the first national monument celebrating gay history. The Stonewall Riots may have been violent, but they marked a pivotal moment in history. No longer would people quietly endure the stigma associated with their sexual and gender orientation. Through the Stonewall Riots, the gay rights movement gained mainstream visibility and a momentum that continues to this day.
All right, we are back. So I just wanted you guys to get a little bit of the context of why we celebrate Pride in general, but just the story behind why we particularly celebrate it in June. So as you can see, like, those were some old school riders. Like, you know, everybody thinks that, you know, gay people are weak or docile, but those, the forefathers of the movement, they were definitely some riders, and they stood for what they believed in. Like, and,
that's right.
I just look at today. I really hope that the younger generation can just look back on history and see, like, where a lot of their rights that they enjoy now, where they stem from. And I'm really grateful that we do have a month, but I feel that Pride is something that we need to celebrate all year long. It shouldn't just be restricted to one time of the year. And one thing that I would challenge even in our community is, because this is just something that bothers me about Pride, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. It's just like, okay, we get together this 1 month out of the year, or, each city has their Pride, so pretty much a weekend out of the year. It's all this so-called fake love and all this, fake positivity and stuff like that. But even within our community, there's a lot of infighting, a lot of bickering, a lot of division within our community. And I feel like, if we can't get on one accord and accept and love each other in our own community, how can we expect society to accept us? So we really have to get out of this thing. I mean, it's always good to see people getting together and, expressing who they are and pretty much loving on each other. But I feel a lot of that time we don't live that message throughout the entire year. So I was wondering, do you guys kind of feel that too? Like, as far as the community, do you think there's a lot of inner conflict? And do you feel that this whole sense of pride, like, is it anything like, what we saw during the original Stonewall riots?
No, I don't. I think that the further we get away from that, or this is just my perception of it, that a lot of us tend to think of Pride as a party. And I think and I don't want to say it like this, but I'm going to say it. We accept more straights, more allies, which is a good thing. We need those allies. But I almost feel like it dilutes the message that Pride has given since 1969.
Wow.
Is that, what is Pride about? Do allies actually understand what Pride is about? Do a lot of the younger people understand what Pride is about?
And it also comes back to educating that younger generation to really understand where it's come from,
right? And
bringing up another topic into this, like the Don't Say Gay that's going down in Florida. That's horrible.
Yeah,
like they're not allowed to learn about history of the LGBTQ community. They're not allowed to reference homosexuality in any way, shape, or form in school. Like, we need to be teaching all human history.
Yeah.
All it was a pivotal point in the human rights, basic human rights. This was a turning point for our community in this country, and the fact that these younger generations, it might not even stop with Florida. It's going to start to spread, and government's going to stick its nose where it doesn't belong, and a lot of the younger generations aren't even gonna know, and it's gonna start trekking backwards. Acceptance and equality. It's just gonna take a stagnant turn, and it's gonna probably hurt us down the road significantly.
Yeah, so that does happen a lot of times. When you erase history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
And then, and it's something that I was thinking about while you were talking about that. Like, that's a part of American history. Like, so why are you trying to erase that part of history? That even reminds me of the issue of people discuss about them not wanting to discuss like critical race theory in schools, and like about the history of slavery, and about the dark era of American history, or the dark side of our history. And the thing is, it's like you can't erase history, because that's who we are. It's ingrained in us as a society. And I feel like I just mentioned, when you erase history, you're going to be doomed to repeat it, because it's just very unfortunate that bill, and I don't know, it's just a really sad day. Like, I see a lot of progression as far as like this generation, but it seems like the older generation is trying to impede on that. They're trying to slow that progression down or put a halt to it, and that's why it's just so hard to get past a lot of racism and bigotry in this country, because you have these older these older people that just need to just check out of here. Like y'all, you know, you're just useless to society. Like, just check out of here because you don't want to see things progress, and a lot of them are the problem. You know what I mean? And that's why we can't kind of dilute that racism and bigotry out of our culture, because you have this, you know, the previous generation that still wants to instill that into the current generation. So it's I feel like that's a reason why it's going to always be here on some level, because it's going to be people perpetuating it. So, I mean,
it just boggles my mind how, you know, even in today's world, like, the future is now. This is 2022. Like, for a group of people to take the time to connive and plan and put in a systematic structure to take someone else's rights away to hurt somebody else. Like, they're hurting these people by doing what they're doing in our government, and like even locally, if, you know, somebody gets backlash, like even in schools, you know, students in high school and grade school are still being met with extreme spouts of homophobia. I see it, you know, on social media all the time. People post a video of somebody just hurting somebody else just based off of the fact that they don't agree with how they look or who they are, and it's just,
yeah,
it's enraging.
And it's fascinating that the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Fox Newses of the world, like to
oh my God,
push back
Yeah.
on a lot of the progress that we've made, because they don't like it, because it hurts them. It hurts their brand at the end.
And those things are all personal too. It's because of their personal opinion that
That's
they're
right.
putting out there on their platforms that get all this, you know, they get all these this following from.
Right.
It's just, and the weasels, the racists and homophobic people just come out of the woodwork and just,
They do.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I feel that that's something that we just have to keep in mind. So we'll just move on to our next just a couple of tidbits of things that I saw throughout the week that I thought that were interesting. Louisiana becomes the 18th state to enact the trans athlete ban. So that's coming out of Louisiana right now. And according to NBC News, 5% of young adults now identify as trans or binary. So now it's really good to see that more people in this current generation are now living in their truth. They're identifying and they're coming to terms, you know, with who they are as individuals. So that's always a good thing to hear. Also in the news, DeSantis made a move to make a ban to offer transitional care to those that are trans youth and those that are Medicaid recipients. So there we go again. Like, you know, it's abortion rights now, you know, and it's so much more than that. Like, you have to look at the medical care. Like, when we look at abortion rights, it's not just about abortion. It's about a lot of these places that offer those resources. They offer mammograms. They offer a lot of female health services to women. And I feel now that they're attacking, you know, LGBT youth and trans youth. Like, a lot of those services can be put at, you know, at the stake too. So I kind of feel that a lot of this stuff could snowball into, you know, into just a big, I don't know. It just goes deeper than just the surface issues, and they don't want to let you know that. So, but yet, like, you know, a lot of these corporations are still capitalizing off of the gay community, but still at the same time, you want to, you know, prohibit giving us our basic rights or our basic needs. You know what I mean? So it's always been that with our community. People always are capitalizing off of us. They want to use us, but yet when it comes to us having basic rights or just basic things such as marriage equality, just having basic rights not to be discriminated against in the workplace, you know, it's just like they don't want to give that to us. So we have to realize that we have a lot of worth in this society. We have to fight for what is rightfully ours, because if not, our rights are going to be taken away from us. So
you gotta vote.
Gotta vote.
That's what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
You gotta know who your state legislators are, because that's where the real politics is really taking place. And in Indiana, there are so many that really want to take your rights away. And it's unfortunate that there are just still so many that still feel like there are certain things that take priority over us.
Yeah.
Like guns.
That's huge, yes.
Yeah.
So
there are so many other worldly problems that we could be like I said before, our country is on a pedestal right now. Like, the whole world is looking at us because of everything that's going on, the gun violence, the homophobia, the racism, the crime, everything that's going on all at once. People don't want to travel to our country. People don't want to come here because they're afraid to. They don't know what's going to happen next or what they're going to walk into. There's just such a lack of control over things that we could have control. Like, talking about gun violence, like I think it was New Zealand or something. They banned all of these firearms and gun. Their crime rate is virtually zero because of that. Because they took control to change what they don't want to see in their country that are happening in countries like ours. I'm just, oh my god. Words I cannot.
And I don't even want to get into the whole gun control thing. I mean, it's just like the number of mass shootings that we've had this year outnumber the number of actual calendar days that we've had this year.
In the past few weeks.
Yeah, it I've lost count on how many mass shootings. It's just like every day I say, oh, it's been another mass shooting, and it's really sad because we are becoming desensitized to it. It's just like
there's another one.
Yeah, it's
right.
business as usual.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
It shouldn't be that way.
How many more people have to die for our legislation or government to actually do something about it?
Exactly.
Like, I don't.
Yeah, and I just wanted to put in context because I did write something down about the mass shootings, because that's one thing I wanted to discuss. Like, in the past couple of weeks, we've had 10 people in Buffalo been killed, 4 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 3 in Philadelphia, 2 in Chattanooga, 3 in Saginaw, Michigan, 2 in Arizona, and it's just like
Jesus.
And it's just this is just in the past couple of weeks, and I just want to know, what is this administration going to do to address this issue? Because now it's like you don't really even feel safe going to do something as innocent as going to the grocery store. We look at those victims that where their lives was just snatched from them. Like, these were elderly. Most of the individuals that were killed were elderly individuals that probably would have never thought that their life would have ended that way. They're just going to the store, buying groceries, maybe to prepare dinner for their Sunday afternoon dinner with their family. And it's just like, we aren't even safe because there's a lot of just, I don't know, it's a lot of crazy people out here. I don't think that the current gun laws, it's just like they're useless right now. Like, they're not really taking this problem serious. And I feel that I don't know what the solution is. Like, I know we need better gun legislation, but beyond that, like, I do feel like there are a lot of hate groups in here. There's a lot of these people, and I've discussed this with you, Jonathan. I feel like there's an enclave of individuals, like they try to recruit these younger people to commit these mass murders, because a lot of times, like, when you look at the manifestos, or you trace back their history, they're linked to these white supremacist groups that recruit these young people, because it's not the older ones that are out here doing it, it's these younger ones. And it's just like, I really feel that the government needs to go after these organizations. They need to shut these people down because they are hate organizations. And I feel like they need to pass legislation, tougher hate crime legislation bills, especially for African Americans, because we are being targeted. Like, there's legislation for every other group, but we need to fight for these hate crime legislation bills for all groups, because these people, they need to be put on blast, and they need to uproot these organizations. Like, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news. This is kind of leading into another conversation about the January 6th insurrection. Mm-hmm. How they're starting to. It's good to see now that they're going in a direction of going after these leaders of the Proud Boys and stuff like that, and holding them accountable. But I feel like they need to just, like, these hate groups or these people that are out here spewing this negative propaganda, I think they need to go after them a lot tougher than what they have been. And we need to call them for what they are. They're terrorist, domestic terrorist groups. And I think that the government needs to put their foot down and say, hey, we're not going to stand for this. It's all this violence, all these mass shootings, and then a lot of people are looking at Biden, but we have to go back to where this stemmed from, and it was in the previous administration. You know what I'm saying? And now it
goes back further.
Yeah, you're right. So
because a lot of this now is mainstream, where, like, I don't know, before the Oklahoma City bombing, that was just like maybe a handful of people, and now it has really taken off.
Yeah,
and
because but like what Seneca was saying, because it's not being fought against hard enough, these groups feel like they could just get away with whatever they want.
Right,
and that's why it's growing out of control.
And you have members of Congress who believe a lot of this stuff that these right-wing organizations and these domestic terrorists believe. And it's quite scary that that there are just some people in Congress that are willing to actually take down good legislation for their own benefit. Mm-hmm. It's really terrifying.
Yeah.
And I really feel that we're entering a future in the United States where, I mean, I feel like dark days are ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you guys this: do you feel that a lot of people that are a lot of these legislators and just people that are representing us, do you think that they're out of touch with the people?
Yes.
Or do you think that they have gotten? Do you think some of them probably went into politics with good intentions, and once they went in, they became corrupt? Or do you think it's a combination of both?
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking a little bit about this earlier, but I feel like they're putting placeholders out there, right? Like they'll say some things in person, like they're if they're at the podium and they're talking against it and all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, we hear you talking about it and stuff like that, but you're not actually doing anything about it.
Right.
And like some people might think, like, by default, like if you're not taking 100% of the position that you've taken to address these issues, you by default you're with the groups, you're supporting them in that sense, because you're not doing enough.
Wow.
And I feel, yes, I agree with what you're saying. Like, they're not really hearing us. They're not really paying enough attention to really grasp what they need to do to help.
Yeah.
I think some of them who are now running for office are wanting to. They already have this mindset that they're already this way, mm-hmm. and that they're going to do whatever they possibly can to reverse whatever progress that we've made. Mm-hmm. I think that's truly how I see it.
Yeah.
And the one that just comes to mind is that lady that, to me, she looks like a man, Marjorie Taylor Greene down in Georgia. And she's a nut job.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about her too. Yeah,
She is literally doing whatever it possibly takes to reverse whatever gains that we've made, and she will take whatever crazy conspiracy theory and run with it.
That just goes to show, like, that you're just doing something to hurt somebody else. You're not doing it to help anybody. You're doing it based off of personal opinion.
But it also begs the question: is it the politician, or is it the people that vote them in? Because do they believe that person is meeting their interest, or do they have the same kind of thinking?
Sometimes it's a combination. Like once this person is in the position that they are, the fact that they have grown such a following for what they're fighting against, it gives them a sense of empowerment, so they keep doing it. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a topic that we can just
we can go on and
do
on.
a whole show.
Yeah.
We can do a whole
we
show.
could.
Sorry.
Oh man, let me make
Damn
sure
it,
my
Ethan.
I'm so sorry.
let me make sure my connection's on still, child, because I don't want to be on air and be embarrassed and sing. Okay,
I have to start the show all over
no,
again.
we're not doing that. I think right now we're fine. I want to move on to another story. We'll transition into an interesting story that's coming out of Virginia. And Yahoo News is reporting that a former athlete from Virginia Tech was acquitted in a fatal stomping of a cross-dressing gay man. So, like I said, this took place in Virginia. And the jury found a cinnamon. How did you pronounce? I can't even pronounce his name. Like Itute, Isam. Read this. I'm having a hooked on. Yeah, I'm having a hooked on phonics moment.
Oh my gosh.
A cinnamon.
A Seminian?
Yeah, a cinnamon. Itute.
I don't know.
Anyways, this guy was found not guilty. They took the case to trial, and they found him not guilty of the death of this guy named Jerry Smith. So what had happened was, to explain what happened, to give some context of what happened, the athlete had oral sex with Smith in April of 2021. So this took place about a year ago. And he was just acquitted, I think, just early at the end of last month. So what happened was Smith rewarded the football player with a $50 gift card, after they had, met online and stuff like that. He had came over to Jerry Smith's residence, and the two met. Well, they actually met on Tinder. So he presented himself as a woman. So Tute later wondered if Smith was actually a man, and went to his apartment to see, along with two teammates who waited outside. Now, what this article's not telling you is, like, you had already went over there, you engaged in the act, you got a gift card from this individual, which I really question the legitimacy of this story, because most women are not going to be paying to give oral sex to another man. You went over there because you wanted some financial gain. I believe this is what happened. You went over there because this man probably told you that he'll pay you some money, and because there's a lot of guys out here that are into cross-dressers. So you're not going to sit here and tell me that you didn't know that this person was a cross-dresser. So I feel that this guy probably was bragging to his friends and was just saying, oh yeah, this lady did this, and this. And they probably put two and two together, and they were probably clowning him. And I guess, his little fragile ego got bruised. So to kind of prove to his, athlete friends that, hey man, you know, this guy tricked me, so let's go over here and do this, this, and this, and kind of get this guy back. I believe that's what happened. So, going on to the second encounter with Smith, this pretty much led up to his death. After the athlete beat him and stomped him to death, they said that he beat this guy so bad that his face was unrecognizable. Like,
God.
I mean, he smashed every bone in his body. So, pretty much the Montgomery County jury acquitted him after the hearing in contradiction to what the football player told to police last summer. So pretty much they saying his story kept changing. And that's why I'm saying I felt that you met this person online and y'all probably talked, and you could have put two and two together. You probably went over to that person's house. The lights were dim. You knew what you were doing, pretty much. So his defense was during a police search of the apartment, a knife was found between Smith's mattress and box spring, but Atute testified that he never saw the knife and he did not mention any concerns for his own safety during the initial police review, June 2nd, 2021. Atute testified that he stomped on Smith's face as he departed the apartment, leaving a bloody shoe print on Smith's cheek in the process. Security camera footage in the apartment showed all three players luckily leaving quickly, with Atute having spent only 3 minutes inside Smith's apartment. Atute testified that Smith was still breathing when he left, and the state's forensic detective testified that the entire attack likely took only a few seconds.
Jesus.
So I'm just bringing this story up because we have to be careful in glorifying this down low culture. You know, I know some of y'all love a old nasty piece of trade. Y'all love the straight boys, but y'all have to be careful with these men out here, because a lot of these guys will engage in this activity, and as long as it's kept under wraps, everything's cool. But once their friends and family find out, that could lead to your demise. So I think a lot of times we glorify like the gay for pay and all the straight boy complex. I know we've all done it, you know, but we have to kind of know what we're getting ourselves into when we're messing with certain types of people, because these people out here, especially the down low people, these people are still they're some of the most dangerous people to mess with. Like, you don't out these people, you don't play around with these people, because they could end your life. And I think that this is a precautionary tale that, you know, for one, I don't know, it's just too many holes in the story. I think the guy knew what was going on. Like, I really believe that, because like I said, it just don't seem right for the average man to be getting paid by a woman to have sex with him. Like, you knew the tea, what was going on. Like, and for you to stump out this person like the way you did, it was just overkill. So it was one of those things where this guy was acquitted. And you got to keep in mind, Virginia is, even though it's like on the East Coast, it's kind of like a southern state. So a lot of those people are going to side with this guy, even though he is an immigrant and the person that was murdered was white. So if they're going to acquit him from killing a white individual like that, in that manner, that means that they have a very low opinion of people that are in the LGBT community, because they probably use that narrative like, well, oh, this guy was sick and he was out here pretty much deceiving people and stuff like that. So that's why I said, like, none of us in the LGBT community are safe. And I just, knowing the community and just knowing how things work, I already know that this was a case where this guy got exposed and he had to kind of prove himself to his buddies, because they said like all his athlete friends were in the courtroom, they were cheering and congratulating him once he was acquitted, and it's sad. That's why you have to leave these guys alone. Like if they not you with somebody and they want you to live in the closet, even though you done the work and you done came to grips with who you are, you can't even deal with somebody that's closeted, because to me, I'm not going back in the closet for anybody, let alone mess around with somebody that I gotta pay to mess around with, and then they're gonna come back around and do that. It's really sad. So we have to really have enough self-love for ourselves to just be aware, be vigilant, and deal with people that want to deal with you. Deal with people that accept you and that are in the same space as you are. So I didn't know. What do you guys think about that story?
Well, the first thing that I thought of immediately was toxic masculinity. When you have somebody, I mean, usually in sports or usually in like a masculine setting,
because he's an athlete.
Yeah, he's an athlete. So in a masculine setting, and his teammates were involved in this, they knew about it, they were encouraging him to to attack this person, I'm sure. Toxic masculinity, people laugh at that term, but it's a very real thing. Of course, clearly very real thing. And that's like the first thing that I thought of. Like, when you have somebody who's, thinks that they're, emasculated, or think that they're lesser of a man because they were engaged in these activities, it adds to the problem. So.
The attacker who got acquitted, he's foreign, and there's a lot of people in other undeveloped parts of the world that still believe in traditional roles, and they take that with them from other parts of the world to the United States, where and to an area like, in this case, Southwest Virginia, and it's very conservative, and you have that one person, that one gay guy that, he's exploring, and he's found someone who supposedly wants to get his rocks off, but then all of a sudden he brings his oon values, like a switch flips. And then he's like, oh my God, I'm not gay. Why did I do this? Why did he do that to me? Mm-hmm. And then they're going to attack the person who is innocent in this whole thing, even though it's really the individual, the attacker. He's the one who's at fault for wanting to even do this at all. And then all of a sudden his toxic masculinity comes into play, and then you have just two friends, his two buddies, who will also
can't show weakness.
Exactly, you can't show weakness at all, because that just showed weakness right there. Then all of a sudden you got to take it out on the person that was giving you pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's truly unfortunate, and this just makes me think of a lot of the trans women who have been killed over the years because of the fact that all of a sudden these straight white men, oh my God, you're not a woman, you're a man.
And we're not going to even say if it's just straight white. It's just
or even in the closet, man. Sorry,
or in the closet.
Even in the closet. I mean, it doesn't have to be straight white men.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that they have this panic defense.
Yeah.
And
I'm the victim.
I'm the victim here. They're the one who tried to, rope me into this. But even though it's the opposite. So I see parallels in that situation. And yeah.
So I just wanted to give some more. It was a couple other things I wanted to mention about that case too. So the trial took place over 3 days. Originally, he was being
3 days.
Yeah, so he was originally going to be charged with second-degree murder. over the death of Jerry Smith, who was 40 years old.
Yeah.
He said, like I mentioned, he received oral sex from a person by the name of Angie, who he thought was a woman, according to him. And according to authorities, he did go back. He went on there and blocked her and then unblocked her. And then the guys came over there. They were all three going to go in there. But his friends chickened out and just waited in the hallway. So pretty much they pumped you up to go in there and you did what you did while they chickened out and they stayed in the hallway. And waited for you to go in there and do what you did to this individual. And it's just like, yeah,
almost like they didn't have to be an accessory,
right?
Yeah,
it was a setup. They were setting him up, and they were kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't want to be.
They didn't want to be accomplices.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting case.
That's truly unfortunate.
Yeah, that reminds me of a case I remember that took place here in Indianapolis that was like that. Years ago, where this trans woman had a sexual encounter with this guy, and I guess word got back to some people that they knew that this individual messed around with this person, and again, it was one of those situations where they felt like they had to prove their masculinity or prove that they were heterosexual. So he set this trans woman up. So the trans woman was with her friend, I believe it was her friend that was actually a cisgender woman. So they set them up, and the guy said, "Yeah, let's hang out at this, that, and the other." So I guess he had got them in the car, and I don't remember the details of it, but pretty much I would assume he must have left them in the car, must have got them tied up or something like that. And they set the car on fire with the trans woman and his friends in there. So it's just one of those things. You gotta be careful with who you're dealing with. And I would tell trans women, you have to kind of be, even if you are upfront with these people, like it's just like you gotta make sure that this person checks out. And if you're with somebody that's embarrassed to be with you in public, and the only time you're with them is at night, and they have to sneak over to your place, or you have to come in the back door, or you got to climb through the damn windows and stuff like that, your red flags better go, red flags better go up, because that is somebody that will go to any length. Like those types of men will go to any length to keep their secret under wraps. I've seen it, and I've heard so many stories about these down low men, and it's just what it is. So just be careful out here when you're just dealing with certain types of people. That's the best thing that I can tell you. That's just the moral of the story with that. I want to go on to some entertainment, little bit of entertainment. As I mentioned earlier, I want to talk about Todd Chrisley, and for those of you who don't know who he is a reality TV star. His family stars in this show called The Chrisleys or something like that. And there's been a lot of speculation about Todd Chrisley, and this comes to light like after him and his wife were found guilty in a federal court of tax evasion and tax fraud. Now there was a business partner, and I'm going to get his name real quick. There was a business partner that used to work with Todd Chrisley that kind of exposed him during the court proceedings, and his name was Mark Braddock. So he pretty much testified and spilled the tea that they had an ongoing affair. And I guess Todd Chrisley, his lawyer was saying how he feels that this guy was jaded, or he was upset because he was an ex-employee and that Todd Chrisley let him go. But I don't think that this person, it doesn't make sense that this person would get on stage, get on not stage, Lord have mercy, get on the stand and perjure himself in a federal case. Like, I don't think that that person would go to that length to testify under oath and perjure himself by concocting this story up. I do believe that there was some type of extramarital affair that was going on, and this ain't the first time that his sexuality has come into question. And I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but he just reminds me of one of them old Southern queens. Like, just the way he talks and stuff like that. And I really think that his wife probably knows. I think a lot of women go into a lot of these marriages thinking they can change a man, or they see that this man has some type of financial clout, so they'll deal with it. Like, you know what I mean? I think at the very least, I do feel that he could be bisexual, but I've heard interviews when they were interviewing him and they were questioning his sexuality. They were like, well, how do you feel about that? About people accusing you or believing that you have homosexual tendencies? And he actually welcomes it. Like, he without, like, I think that's his way of confirming but not confirming at the same time, because he thinks that that's an honor for somebody to consider that he's gay or whatever, because that means I can get the best of both worlds, or something that he said like that. So it's just like, okay, if you're gonna go that far, you might as well just come on out. Like, it's just, I just think it's just really ridiculous, and like, it's just, I don't know.
Well, I thought that a little bit, like, when I first saw the previews for, like, the early seasons of their show, like, I was like, well, he's got a family and kids. Okay.
That don't mean anything.
That don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
I've never seen the show, to be perfectly honest, but I've seen clips, and if he's really trying to pull a fast one on everyone, he's doing a really bad job of it.
And that's the thing, like, most people that are that think that they're hiding their sexuality, most people see right through it. Like,
yeah,
it's, you have some people that are good at convincing others, but 9 times out of 10, somebody that's that obvious, you'll do better coming out, because they're gonna talk about you more with you leading this facade on, acting like that you're something that you're obviously not. So that's why I just really think that it's really sad, even in 2022, that people feel like they have to lead on this facade that they're heterosexual, they're bringing kids in the world, and they're leading these double lives. But to me, I feel like it's kind of dangerous, because you're carrying on this affair with this guy while married to this other woman, and I don't think that they have an open relationship like that. So if he's out here doing it, and I don't think this is the first time he's probably had some type of affair with another man. This is just the first that we know about it officially, but it's just, I don't know. I think it was something with these two individuals. I think it was deeper than a business relationship. I think they actually probably were romantically involved. I don't think it was just a sexual thing. And that's why I said situations like that can get really messy.
Yeah, they can.
So,
maybe that's why they're staying together and supporting one another is because of the finances.
I think it's the money that keeps people there a lot of times. Because I think, like I mentioned, a lot of women that are married to men, they'll put up with a lot of bullshit from men, especially if they are multi-millionaires and they got a lot of money. They'll stay in a marriage with a man, and they know that he's out here having extramarital affairs. Hell, there's some women that know that their husbands are out here sleeping with other men.
Yes. And
they're still staying with these people.
Yes.
Like, even like you look in the church, like there's a lot of women that know that their husbands are on the down low, and hell, some of them know, and they probably know that they messing around with underage boys, they messing around with girls. They want to stay and get that money because they get used to a certain lifestyle.
Yes, they do.
And they don't want to let that lifestyle go, so they'll just, go along with it. And a lot of them don't even have sex with these men anymore. I've heard several stories like that, especially coming out of the church.
Well, the other thing that we need to think about too is like who holds the keys to the kingdom in these situations. Was it in this situation? Was it like Todd, or was it, or did they have like a 50-50 or whatever? Like, it also reminds me of like what happened with Jeff Bezos getting divorced from his wife. Went after his pocketbook first. That's the first thing that she did. She wanted her dues.
That's true.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's very true.
In these big business situations, that who holds the power in the relationship, essentially. So
Right.
Those are good questions.
So, all right, so we're gonna move on to our next story. Did you guys hear about the incident that happened at the Children's Museum in Indianapolis?
I don't think so. No.
All right, well, I'm gonna play a clip real quick so we can get some context of it, and then I'm gonna come back and get your guys' opinion about it. And this incident, because you haven't heard about it yet, so I'm just gonna let you listen to the clip. But they've gotten a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
And it has to do with Juneteenth. So we'll go to this clip, and then I'll come back with the rest of my commentary. If I can get the clip to play. Okay, there we go. It's still loading. Yeah, we'll probably have to come back to that clip. But pretty much the gist of it was, there was a visitor that went to the Children's Museum, and they noticed that that there was a menu item that was attached to Juneteenth. It was like a watermelon salad.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, are you really serious? Like, you guys felt that you putting this menu item out there commemorating Juneteenth was just like, that was a smart thing to do. Like, I don't know who's over the PR department there, but it's just like, that was a really dumb move. And honestly, this made national headlines because I was watching a podcast that I usually follow on the Young Turks Network, Dr. Rashad Ritchie. And I think even the TYT, they brought this up too. So like, this has made national headlines. Like what why would you feel that would just be a smart thing to do?
Like prejudice on a plate or something.
Right.
Well, God. This happened just maybe a week or two after the whole incident with the Juneteenth ice cream with Walmart.
Yes.
Which was actually their own brand.
What was that one? Was it like watermelon flavored ice cream or something? Like,
I don't think it was.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember what the flavor was, but it literally said on the side of the packaging
Juneteenth ice cream.
Yeah,
God.
And it was Great Value brand.
Oh my God.
I'm
Y'all
like,
couldn't give us
how in the world?
no premium brand. You just gonna give us the cheap Walmart brand, and you just felt that was just like,
we want to save money. We don't want to spend money.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Walmart had to backtrack everything, and it was a PR nightmare for them. So I can only imagine. And this is the second incident where this was Newfields. Is that what it is? No, the Children's Museum.
Sorry, yeah.
This is their first incident because there was an incident with Newfields the previous year for something also along the same lines. Not exactly the same thing, but I'm like, don't these people like remember their own history?
It just makes me imagine, like, you know, not even just this, but like other deciding factors for other things that aren't a good idea. You know, it's like who's all of us sitting around the conference table talking about, oh, what would be a good, you know, and there's always those one or two people that are like, I don't think we should do that, and they're like, well, you know, you've been voted out because most of us think it's a good idea.
Exactly.
And then it ends
okay,
up
let's roll the
being
dice.
national news. Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that leads to a greater conversation because a lot of people are feeling that with the whole entire thing dealing with reparations. They feel like that this is another way for people to profit off of black people's pain.
Yes.
Like this country has not like compensated the descendants of black slaves here in this country for slavery, but yet you're still capitalizing off of this holiday, and a lot of people feel like that's something that's sacred that should be left alone. So I kind of feel the same way too. I feel like, you know, these corporations shouldn't be capitalizing off of something like that. Like it's just so gimmicky, and it's just so, to me, it's just disrespectful. You know what I mean? But I wonder too, like I was going to ask you guys, how do you feel about people capitalizing off the gay community? Like, how do you feel about it? It kind of leads into that. I mean, it's not the same. It's apples and oranges, but it's similarities because
There's parallels.
there's parallels to it because you have like a marginalized group of people as well that a lot of people didn't, you know, like even like I told you, like 10 years ago, you didn't even see all this corporate support of the gay community, but now it's the end thing to do to be pro LGBT and, you know, this, that, and the other. And you see a lot of us in the media and the stuff, and you know, we're more transparent now, and it's like the end thing to do. So do you kind of feel like we are in that same boat as well? Like, because I feel like they try to capitalize off us as well.
It's all about money. Everything's all about money.
Yeah.
You know, when people put like something in rainbow and say, you know, oh, we're happy to have you. It's like, no, you want to make money off of us.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, you know, the stuff that's come out about Disney. There's like a huge boycott about Disney right now, is because they claim to be the all giving, accepting, and they actually have their own like brand for Pride stuff, and but they're like, what is it, the CEO or something that's like giving money that they make from the parks and stuff. They're giving money to all these like anti-LGBT organizations. Is that right? Yeah,
it is,
and it blows my mind.
To me, these corporations talk out of both sides of their mouths. Like, okay, the parade yesterday. I think it's Delta Faucet who was the big sponsor of the parade, or of the festival, and they had a humongous float. They had a whole bunch of people, and they wanted to make it known that they support the gays. And it's so disingenuous to me that they will also support anti-LGBT organizations or anti-LGBT politicians at the same time that they're also giving money to pro-LGBT politicians and organizations. So I find it laughable that these big corporations get to walk down, get to be at the front of the line at these parades, and the organizations that really are meaningful and make a difference are relegated to the back, that are truly helping the cause. And to me, they're just profiting off of all of us.
Right.
All these corporations. And that's why I can't. It's becoming more difficult for me to take Pride seriously because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a meme going around of this guy that says, "Here it comes," and it's this tornado, and in that tornado, it has all of these logos for all these corporations that are all in rainbow, and eventually, once June 30th hits and July 1st comes around, it's gone.
Yeah.
For another year.
Wow. Yep. So that's why, you know, like I think it was you that mentioned it earlier. Like it feels like the whole movement and just even like these Pride festivals, it's just like it's so watered down now. It's just, I don't know. It's just a big just meet and greet now. It's not even about trying to push an agenda for us to, you know, help push what we need as a community ahead. It's just everybody's just there to party, have a good time, which that's all well and good. It's the time and place for that, but we have to also be politically aware and be politically savvy and keep our minds on the assignment at hand. You know what I mean? We have to keep promoting. For one, we do have to promote self-love, self-acceptance, but we have to promote a political agenda as well, because as we mentioned earlier, our rights are at stake. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we have to realize what we're doing out here, and you know, and we can't allow these corporations and allow people to keep eating off of us, and they keep on doing this, that, and the other. But it's still at the same time, like you mentioned, they're pushing people that are anti-LGBT community as well. So we just gotta do better, because I think that's gonna pretty much come back and bite us in the ass pretty much in the future. Like, we think it's all well and good now. They're paying all these corporate dollars and stuff like that, but at the same time, you got to look at it too. Once you're no longer grassroots, you become a slave to these people. You know what I mean? So we have to be careful in just accepting everybody's dollar. We have to be aware that there's always a hidden agenda behind something. So that's just something I would just kind of just something I would just urge us to just keep in mind. Like, it's good that we have extra financial backing and stuff like that, but you have to realize that these people aren't just giving you this money, or they're not supporting you. It's always some type of hidden agenda behind it.
So that just kind of begs the question: do these pride organizations in all these cities, do they actually vet the corporation that wants to actually do the most giving?
I don't think they do.
They claim to, but
they claim to.
Do we really know that?
Right.
I don't. Yeah.
And oh man, that just, I think that just leads to a whole lot of things to where I'm gonna give the Pride like just here in Indy, the Pride organization, the side eye, and just say,
did you do your research?
Did you do your research? Mm-hmm. Did Delta Faucet or did IU Health, are they actually also giving money to anti-LGBT groups? Mm-hmm. Are they giving it to Chick-fil-A? Stuff like that. And I'm yeah. Just some questions.
Yeah. They're very valid questions too.
Open up some people's minds about that.
Right.
In the future, yes.
Yeah. But while we're on the topic of Indy Pride, how do you guys feel about the parade and the festival this year? Because as many of you know, this is the first actual festival that we've had since the beginning of the pandemic, so it's been 2 years. So how do you guys feel about the turnout? How do you guys feel about the vendor, just the overall presence? Or it's some things I saw.
Do you want to start, Ethan?
I feel like it's shrunk a little bit. Just like the volume of turnout and the parade itself has been it's a little, in my opinion it was, but just trying to remember I'll probably have to pull some pictures, but just trying to remember because last time we went was in 2019, or yeah. I mean that's.
I honestly cannot remember the last time I went to the parade. I want to say it was like 20. Did we go together here in Indy?
Yeah.
I know we went to the festival.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, we didn't go to the parade.
But we were both working night shift at the time, so that's 10 o'clock in the morning. That's like our time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But I thought the festival itself, I'm really kind of surprised at the turnout. Where, I mean, there was, I would definitely say over 100,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not that many for the parade. But yeah, I think the festival actually had a much better turnout than expected.
Yeah.
Something I was kind of surprised about is Andre Carson walked in the parade.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I actually thought just having his staff would be walking, but no, he actually walked, and he was actually taking selfies with people.
Yeah, I saw it too. Yeah.
Mm.
So that kind of surprised me.
I'm gonna be quiet.
I know
I could say something, but I don't want there to be no misunderstanding. So leave that.
We'll leave that one alone.
Yeah. So I feel that I'm glad that it was good to run into people that I haven't seen in a long time. It was good to see everybody out at Military Park, but I did feel that just something was off this year, and I just feel that maybe it's just they're getting back into the swing of things. I probably feel that maybe next year they probably building their budget back up because they probably did take a hit during the pandemic.
They were definitely making up for lost time.
Yeah,
they doubled the price for tickets because I remember in 2019 it was $5 and this year was $10, and then VIPs are.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So overall it was good. I mean the entertainment. Yeah. I don't know. It's just. Like I said, maybe next year they'll have the budget to have more of a mainstream headliner. They did have people. They had a couple acts that were nice, but I think they stuck more to like local acts this time. They had what was that? Not that review. I was going to say review, but I guess they had like that cast, the drag cast.
Oh yeah, the drag theater.
Yeah.
I actually kind of thought that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, that was neat. I did enjoy that. That was pretty entertaining. And
it was who was it? It was Blair St. Clair.
Blair St. Clair, and then the drag cast of the Legally Blonde.
Yeah. Which I don't even know where. I don't remember them saying where that was supposed to be.
I think Patty, we've mentioned it briefly. Like, we have it, here at a certain time, but it was very quick, so I don't remember.
I don't either. I'd have to Google it.
But they have all that information on the Pride's page, their website.
Yeah. I had a clip from Indy Pride. I think I can't remember which channel I got it from, but let me see if it will play right now. Is the Bluetooth still on down there? I think it still is. Yeah, it's showing that.
It is.
Yeah, we'll see if it plays because I think the last clip I tried to play, the Children's Museum story, wouldn't play. So if not, we'll just move on to our next story. But we'll see really quick. Yeah, I think it's something wrong with the audio. But pretty much, I just want to just talk about that. I think they're still having events today. I thought I heard something. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, they're still having events all day long. And then something fascinating something I found interesting is how they now have the first female president of Pride now.
Yeah.
And how she was mentioning that it's in her plans to make the whole board very diverse. She says it's one of the most diverse Pride boards that have ever been in the history of Indianapolis. So I really want to commend her for that, and we'll just see what happens from there, because it's one thing to get the illusion of inclusion or try to get that delusion that you're being diverse, but we want to see through action. It's good that you have that board, but like representation doesn't always equal, diversity. Like, so you can have that representation, but I want to see how you guys are going to implement programs, or you're going to implement different things that are going to help bring the gay community of Indianapolis or Indiana together in general. So it's going to be interesting. It was really good to see that diversity up there. But now that that's established, we'll see what you guys are going to do to kind of bridge the gap, because there is I don't know, it's there, because we had that interview with Keith Washington about a year or so ago, and he was telling us about the history of Indianapolis and how it's never really been very inclusive. It's always been divided. So we'll see if she'll do good at trying to bridge the gap and bringing people together. Because I think that's something that we really need in this community. So
that proof will be in the pudding.
Yep.
They have a year to really put stuff together.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to run through a couple of more news items. We're just going to blow through these. Lil Nas is kind of upset because he has 0 nominations for the BET Awards, but yet, like all the other major award shows have given him nominations this year. And to me, like, if I was Lil Nas X, because I've heard this in other commentaries, and I agree, like, I would pay BET dust, because BET is not the original BET it once was. Like, it's just really sad that you were promoting this young man about a year ago, but now he has 0 nominations this year, and he's had a lot of good hits out here, a lot of success in the past year. He pretty much says that it makes it difficult for LGBT black folks to identify as black first, because when you come out, it's like you get all this ridicule within the community. And BET responded and said they disagree with the claims, and they say, well, we love Lil Nas X and we continue to support him. And they kind of brought up the fact on how they recognized him last year. But I think that kiss on the air that he had with the other young gentleman, I think that kind of like stirred up a lot of controversy. And I think they probably didn't want that controversy again this year. So I probably feel that that's probably why they didn't want to nominate him or anything like that. So Lil Nas quoted that, I just feel like black gay people have to fight to be seen in this world, even when we make it to the top. They pretend we are invisible. Queer men are more respected than when they do less feminine things. So that was his quote on that. Also in the news, let's go to our next news item. We've talked about Pride. We talked about the Children's Museum. Yeah, some local gay news I want to bring up. Did you hear about Zonies closing in July?
Yeah, I think that, didn't they say that on stage? That
They got
closing?
six weeks to
Weeks
go.
to go, yeah.
Yeah, so that I remember Zonies when it was, I don't know if you guys remember when it was still called Illusions. Like, yeah,
Well, that was a long time ago.
yeah, a long time ago. Like, I think the current owners, they bought it and changed the name and stuff like that. They really fixed that bar up. It's really nice. But it's been one of our oldest gay bars in Indianapolis, and it was a staple in the community. But on the bright side of it, I am glad that they are somewhat still keeping that building within the community, because I think Damien Center is going to purchase that building, if I understand that correctly.
Yes, they are.
So I really hope that they're able to put that building into some good use. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with it, but I'm glad to see that they weren't bought out by, outside entities. So It's bittersweet. I mean, I hate to see that another establishment in Indianapolis is closing, because I think now that leaves only a couple left. Like
Three.
Greg's, Teeny's, and Metro. And even with Teeny's and Metro, they're it's very mixed now. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? Integrated now. Like it, and that's good to see, because it's more of a younger generation that goes to those establishments. But as far as like the original establishments, like we've had the 10 is closed, Talbot Street's closed, the 501, the only beer and leather bar in Indianapolis closed. There's just been a ton of like bars that have closed in Indianapolis that they used to be safe havens for our community. Like, a lot of people just think that these bars were just for, just partying and people doing X, Y, and Z. But a lot of those bars were safe havens for our community, because we weren't accepted in other spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I really feel now that, I hate to say this, but a lot of the bars, the establishments that are open now, have become toxic a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think the younger generation don't want any part of that. Like, I think they want to mix and mingle with other groups of people. But I will say there are some old, bitter, jaded queens out here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them they have a foothold on some of these establishments, and it makes it unenjoyable for people to go there. So I can kind of see why a lot of these establishments are closing. Because I'll say this, sometimes I have a better time going to straight bars and straight clubs than some of these gay clubs, because it's so political here in Indianapolis. I would say, I can't speak for anywhere else. So I really think that we're seeing a shift in the culture, and I won't be surprised if there'll be more establishments closing. Now, I'm not gonna say which ones, but I just really think that our community, we need to get our heads out of our asses and make some changes, if they want to save what little history we have left. So
Indy's had so many gay bars.
Yeah.
Probably since the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, I think Indy Star did a story about that.
Yeah.
To where it's like maybe 20 different gay bars, which is, to me, that's astounding.
Yeah, they used to have a lot on Mass Avenues. I remember there was a couple that I heard of, some of the old schoolers were talking about, Betty Boop's, NYC. We do have, I think that's more of a restaurant, I would say. The one that's on Mass Avenue down there on that corner, I'm having a
45 Degrees?
Yeah, 45 Degrees. We do have a couple of restaurants, English Ivies, and Ollie's. I don't even know how to even classify Ollie's anymore. It's just, it's not even the same. Like that to me, that's kind of made. That's one establishment I think that's kind of made a turn for the worse. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. But as far as like straight up like gay establishments, like bona fide gay establishments, we've pretty much lost our the pillars of the community. Like
we have.
Yeah, so it's very unfortunate. I do think Zonies was one of those pillars. I do feel that still was a strong representation of the gay community in Indianapolis. I don't think it had been. I don't think it has been like kind of like overtaken by heterosexual people, I guess you could say, or lack of a better term. But I don't know.
Do we know what the Dating Center is going to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I'm glad that they're at least keeping it within the community, because I'm pretty sure they can make some good use out of it, but I'm not really sure what they're going to do with that,
right,
with that building. I don't even know. Who's to say they might tear it down? I don't know. So I don't know.
I mean, in the past there have been, places that have risen from the ashes, so to speak.
It's true.
In Bloomington also they're reopening a few things in Bloomington that had
Really?
been closed for the pandemic. I can't think of any at the moment, but I mean the names. But I mean, who knows? Maybe. But it goes back to getting enough local support from the community to bring them back. Also.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I just think it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I think that these gay establishments have been victims of their own success.
Yeah.
And some of them don't like to change with the times.
Yeah, that's another problem.
And either they're going to have to adapt or they're going to die. They're going to wither on the vine.
Mm-hmm. Some of them, too, something I've noticed, too, some of them try to give the illusion that they're keeping up with the times, but then once you really get in and look at the inner politics and the inner workings, it's just a facade. A lot of them put on facades, but they don't want to come up with the times. They want to keep the same power structure. They want to keep the same old queens that were running things in Indianapolis back in a time when they weren't as inclusive, you know? So sometimes they give, and that just even reminds me of even during the Black Lives Matter thing, like how all of them were acting like they were so on board with Black Lives Matter, but then we look at what goes on in a lot of these establishments. You guys aren't about that. It was just something for you guys to do, to get out there to make yourselves look like you are inclusive and that you don't want heat to come down on you. I feel like that's how a lot of these establishments are, because you go in there and you see how they treat people of color, particularly black, gay, lesbian, and trans people of color, and you just see how they're not gonna come right out and say that they don't want them in it, but you can just tell they're not welcoming. Like, you can just tell, when somebody really welcomes you and embraces you versus they're just there to take your money. And I've been hearing a lot of people talk about that in a lot of these establishments, you know what I mean? So they're going to have to really fix that culture, and they're going to really have to make some changes, because now you have to realize that, the changing of the guards is here. It's not going to be the same old. The city's becoming more diverse, and it's time for them to let some of those old attitudes go. That's just how I feel about it. So, yeah.
Just want to bring this up. Something that just recently happened within the past 2 weeks. This is over in Terre Haute. They just started up their first ever Pride Festival.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. And what's funny is just maybe a few days beforehand, and I'd have to figure out the dates on this just because I think I'm wrong, but there is a gay bar in Terre Haute, but they did not host a Pride event. It was a quote-unquote straight bar that hosted all these drag queens, including some from out of town, from St. Louis. Now, they hosted it on a Thursday, which is kind of weird, because then on Friday and the weekend they go back to doing their whole their regularly scheduled programming.
Right.
But the fact that the local gay bar in Terre Haute didn't actually host this and a straight bar did, just I don't know, just it's kind of unusual.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there.
That's interesting.
Wow. All right, we got a couple more news items I just wanted to hit on really quick before we get off. I don't know if you guys follow P-Valley, but that's a show that is on Stars. That show is pretty much back on air for a second season.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my notes for that. Yeah, so pretty much it's about let me see what I have now, because honey, I haven't watched it. I've seen clips of it, but it's pretty much the chronicles of 7 exotic dancers and their binary boss, which goes by the name of Uncle Cliff, and it pretty much kind of follows them as they kind of balance their professional life and their personal life. So pretty much it's been a really popular show, and people been waiting on them to put out another season for almost 2 years. So, but there's some controversy behind that show because there's a R&B singer by the name of Nikki Gilbert, which claims that the concept was stolen from her because she had a stage play back in 2010 by the name of Soul Kittens Cabaret, and she claims that concept was stolen from her. So right now, she is in litigation, and she's suing the show's creator by the name of Katori Hall, and this lawsuit was set in motion back in January. So we'll be following that to see what transpires from that. Also, that's something I would say, like, when you come up with a concept, because I even heard stories about the creator of The Matrix. Like they said it was a black woman that came up with that in the Terminator series and stuff like that, and she presented those ideas to these major filmmakers and stuff like that, and they took her idea and it made almost billions off of that. Like the Terminator series and Matrix and stuff like that. Like they've made a lot of money throughout the years on that. So that's why you have to be really careful. Like if you create something, you really need to go about protecting what you create, because if people feel like they can take they're not going to give you credit, and they're damn sure not going to pay you for what you're worth. So I feel like sometimes we have to become more educated on how to protect our intellectual property. So that's what I would take away from that. For those of you who don't know who Nikki Gilbert is too, she was on a show called R&B Divas, which debuted back in 2014, and I think it was like a famous R&B singer, Kiki Wyatt. She was on there from Indianapolis. She came from Indianapolis. There was a lot of really legendary singers that were on there, but she was known to be pretty much controversial on that show too. So for those of you that don't know who she is, that's who that person is. Also, I want to touch on the Monique versus DL Hughley situation before we get off of here. Those of you that have been following this has been just spiraling out of control since the end of May. When she did her show at the Fox Theater in Detroit, it originated out of a so-called dispute over a contractual agreement, because they were trying to decide who would be the headliner. But when I heard Monique go off on DL Hughley like that on stage, like, I kind of knew that it was something deeper than that. So this stems back to like when she was being blackballed in Hollywood after doing Precious, and how she was saying how Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, and Tyler Perry were saying that she was difficult to work with because she wasn't contractually obligated to promote that film after she did it, and she was actually doing a favor for Lee Daniels. But since then, like, her and Lee Daniels have made amends, but I think this stems way back even before that, because I remember Monique kind of fell out with Oprah because she went behind Monique's back and invited her family on her show for ratings, talking about the sexual abuse and stuff that went on with Monique and stuff like that. And Monique didn't know anything about her family coming on the show discussing that. So she fell out with Oprah because of that. And then the whole thing about her being difficult to work with because she didn't want to work for free, that kind of just snowballed into what's going on currently. And D.L. Hughley has been having a lot to say about the situation in several interviews. So I guess Monique was feeling at one time that, since they were both kings and queens of comedy, that they were close. But DL Hughley's been on a lot of interviews, just talking about her open marriage with her husband and about, just the whole situation. And I think that was her way of getting back at him. But the only thing, I don't agree with how she's been treated in Hollywood, but I will say this, I don't agree with Monique weaponizing DL Hughley's daughter's sexual assault, because I guess there was an interview where DL Hughley said that he kind of regrets not being there for his daughter because when she went through her sexual assault, it was somebody around her age, but he kind of downplayed it as, well, kids will be kids or whatever. So Monique took that clip and weaponized it against him, and I just kind of feel that was wrong, because if it was a thing dealing with the contract or whatever, or y'all beef, you should keep that between you two. Don't bring his kids into it. Mm-hmm. Don't bring this young lady's trauma into it. So that's why she got a lot of backlash from that. And I still rock with Monique. I like her. I think she's an awesome comedian. She's an awesome person. But I feel that she kind of went overboard with that, and I can't rock with that. Like, I just feel like a lot of times with these feuds and stuff like that, or I think people start low blowing and they bring people's family and they bring stuff into the situation that they have anything to do with that. So I just hope that they can just smash this. I think these are two OGs in the game, and it's really sad to see that both of these individuals with good careers, like DL Hughley, he's really political. He's in the political arena. He does his comedy. He has a lot going for himself. Monique, she does her acting. She does her producing, her comedy career. They have a lot going for themselves, and to see that people their age, because they're pretty much in their late 50s, early 60s, to see them arguing like that, it kind of gives a bad rap for comedy. And then seeing like the younger comedians come in the game, it's just like it's just not a good look. So
comedy already has issues, especially with Dave Chappelle.
Ooh,
but that's a subject for another time.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that the next show. Yeah. So and then not to mention about the whole Will Smith and
oh god,
yeah. So comedy has been
it's been compromised.
Yeah. Trying to see what else we have to talk about before I get off of here. The Stellar Awards. We're gonna talk about a little religion. The Stellar Awards will be in Atlanta, Georgia this year, so you already know what that means, honey. Like the Gospel Music Awards down there, so you already know that the gospel music industry is inundated with the girls, so you can already tell what's gonna go on down there. And also, let's see what else is going on in the news. Something else. One more thing I want to talk about before I get off of here. I'm just to do a little sports news. A couple headlines I saw that caught my eye. The Broncos have sold their team for $4.65 billion to the Walmart heir Rob Walton. He made the purchase here recently, so it'll be interesting to see what goes on with that. Deshawn Watson, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but I guess he's going through a situation now where he's saying that where they're saying that he met with at least 66 women for massages, and they were saying that and it was
another one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so they were saying in a 17-month period there was like alleged misconduct, between him and these massage therapists. So currently there's 24 lawsuits. So, but they were saying how some of these lawsuits have been settled. So it almost makes me wonder if these people, some of these women, because I always wondered this in the back of my mind, because I never want to victim shame, but you have to think too, like, do you think that sometimes they feel that this is a gravy train and a lot of them jump on board with this stuff?
Or because he's kind of, famous,
Yeah.
that they're they're going against it now because they think they can get more money out of him or something like that.
Yeah, 'cause they said 22 settled out for $100K. So that's why I kind of feel that I kind of get the side eye to people that want to just automatically settle out, because I feel like if you really trying to get justice, you gonna take it to trial. You ain't just gonna settle out, and you ain't just gonna just settle out for a small amount of money.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like these ladies agreed to do it.
Yeah.
He didn't force himself on them. He didn't assault them.
And that's what they were saying, like, because his lawyer was saying, like, there's no law, there's nothing illegal about having a happy ending, like, so it's just like, I just kind of feel that some of these women are just, it could be, I don't know, but I don't even want to touch that, but I just question that sometimes, because when you see cases like this where it's multiple women, it could be somebody that is a predator, but then again, it could be people that are jumping on the bandwagon because, for one, they want notoriety, and two, I feel like sometimes these people they're wanting to get back at these individuals because they probably thought it was something more than what it was. Like some of these people that have these ongoing sexual encounters with these people, they kind of think it's more than what it is, and then that person pretty much using you for sex. Mm-hmm. So I really think is it sometimes a thing of where people are trying to get back at an individual. So it's just a lot of these cases you just have to kind of just take at face value. So, but I pretty much think that's about it. Also, I know the Housewives of Atlanta has been doing pretty well this season. I know Nene Leakes, she is currently suing Bravo, and she's going after Andy Cohen because she claims there was some racial tension on the show and this, that, and the other. But my thing is, girl, you were on that show for all those seasons, so why did you stay as long as you did? You pretty much got upset because they got tired of your diva mentality. You weren't showing up on set. You weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing, so they gave you the X. So now you want to play this card, and a lot of people are seeing right through that. So, but the show is still pretty good. They have brought back Sheree Whitfield on there, and pretty much the same cast is on there. So I got a chance to watch the first episode because I don't have cable, but they had the first episode of the season on YouTube, so I was able to watch that, and it's pretty good. And then they have a new series called The Housewives of Dubai, which that's pretty much interesting too, because I think that's the first series of the Housewives franchise that is that's been taped overseas. But a couple of the wives are from America, but you have some of them, like, honey, these are some divas. Like, I'm telling you, these, because I think one of the women, she's like a well-known model that is from Ethiopia, I think. And then it was, I forgot the other characters, but they all have rich husbands and I mean, beautiful homes. Like, and it kind of gives you a background of Dubai, because Dubai was it's now just in the recent, like the past, I say 20, 30 years, it's really been built up, like, versus the old Dubai. And because they have like the old Dubai, and then they have the more modern Dubai, and it's just like a lot of people with money have flocked over there, and they really built that country up, like, economically. So it was kind of interesting to see, get background on that too, because the show actually educates you on that. So it's going to be a good series, I feel. And I think that's all we have. I didn't know if you guys had anything else before we get off here, because I know you got some meatloaf that I'm ready to eat.
Yeah, time for dinner.
Do we have any comments or people posting anything about
it?
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I didn't really see anything. We had people earlier in the first time we went live, like, there were people in the comments, but yeah, I think with that whole, like, situation with the technical difficulties, yeah, kind of messed things up. But we'll be back next time. Like I said, this is our first broadcast that I've done that we've done like in over a year. So we're just getting some kinks out and stuff like that. But yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
No, you're welcome.
Yes.
All right.
Look forward to having you again.
Yes, absolutely. I'd
right.
love to.
All right. Well, make sure you guys check us out. Like I said, this podcast can be downloaded on blogtalkradio.com/Urban Wire Media Network. And also you can listen to our podcast on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. And until then, have a good Pride Month. Just remember to accept one another, love one another, because really we're all we have in this community. You know what I mean? So just be safe out there. Enjoy the festivities, and we will hopefully be back in the next couple of weeks.
That's right.
All right.